how many people came through his orbit? How many people could this have happened to? And how did he get away with it for so long?
Welcome back. A hearing is set for next Tuesday in the case for Sean Diddy Combs. This just days after jurors delivered a mixed verdict in his trafficking and racketeering.
We're barely through the first commercial break, and already the empire Diddy built is teetering on a cliff's edge, if it hasn't already gone over. The real story isn't just Diddy's arrest, the raids on his glass-walled Miami palace, or the endless parade of lawsuits. It's the spectacle unraveling, right behind the headlines, the sudden, twitchy silence of Hollywood's A-list. As the U.S. Marshals edge closer, we're hearing about panic texts, canceled appearances, private jets idling at secret airstrips, and some of the world's most recognizable faces going dark on social media. Steve Harvey, Oprah, Usher, and yes, even Will Smith. Names that usually never sweat are now front and center in a tabloid manhunt. If you ever wanted proof that Diddy wasn't acting alone, just look at who's running for the door before anyone's even read them their Miranda rights.
Right now is going through a number of different reasons. Again, very quick reporting indicates that the judge is citing to the defense attorney's own statements during the case that Sean Combs is a violent person, has had violent personal relationships. But of course, the defense said that doesn't mean he's guilty of racketeering. It looks like the judge is now using those statements to say he should be.
Let's not sugarcoat the chaos. Federal agents aren't just combing through Diddy's hard drives and his alleged private stashes, they're poking holes in a network so wide, it's got billionaires, daytime TV royalty, and hip-hop prodigies all shivering in the same WhatsApp group. Every hour, there's a new rumor. One of Diddy's pilots supposedly flew a certain king of comedy to an island without extradition laws, while a producer whispers that a mogul bought a fake passport in cash. As one Miami club promoter told us, people aren't just skipping town, they're erasing their digital footprints, changing phone numbers, even leaving burner phones in ride shares like breadcrumbs. Nobody's confirming the details yet, but the leaks all point in one direction. Diddy's so-called escape network isn't just an urban legend, it's a real-life, high-roller version of witness protection. And why wouldn't these big names bolt? It's not every day the FBI and Homeland Security show up on the same search warrant, or that private jets start filing flight plans to tiny islands that most travel agents can't even pronounce. The story inside Diddy's circle is that offshore accounts, untraceable wire transfers, and shell companies have all been spun up to help his crew make a clean getaway. According to at least 2 industry veterans, Diddy's connections in the Caribbean and Europe have already been activated. If the feds announce a warrant for anybody in that circle, don't expect them to be in the US by sunrise, a former label rep laughed, half serious. Meanwhile, the rest of the industry is busy unfollowing old friends, purging photos, and calling their lawyers before breakfast. Nobody's giving an official statement, of course, but the absences speak for themselves.
Same kind of extortion that we heard when Cassie took the stand and testified on that airplane ride back from France. Diddy said, "You don't do a freak-off, I'm going to release one of the freak-off videos that you are profiled in and humiliate you."
The panic isn't just among the inner circle, it's viral. Everyone from stylists to security guards is fielding calls from reporters, PR fixers, and yes, investigators. One after another, stories about black books, secret party lists, encrypted chat logs, and missing hard drives are flooding back channels. The raid on Diddy's Miami mansion, which would have once been tabloid fodder for weeks, is now just the starting pistol. The real drama is playing out in luxury hotels, gated communities, and private hangars up and down the eastern seaboard. For every high-powered lawyer issuing denials on cable news, there's another anxious assistant trying to get a suitcase packed before the next headline drops. There's a special tension around those tapes seized during the raid. Whispers from insiders claim agents made off with dozens of digital files, allegedly featuring everything from freak-off parties to behind-the-scenes deals. Nobody's seen the footage, but word on the street is that just a single frame could collapse more careers than the last decade of cancel culture combined. 2 producers close to the case say it's way worse than anyone thinks, and the bigwigs in Beverly Hills are losing sleep. Are these tapes just evidence, or are they the real nuclear button? Insurance for whoever's got a copy, leverage to silence the next wave of witnesses, or maybe just the spark that sets the whole city ablaze? So far, the only certainty is that nobody wants their name anywhere near those drives.
People I don't think realized was he had cameras all over the place, unbeknownst to them. And now he has all that footage, supposedly. This is what I'm told. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens if, You're a huge iconic, TV star or movie star, and you're in some very, very...
You can't help but notice how quickly some people are distancing themselves. Will Smith, for instance, was on stage in San Diego, sweating through denials with a straight face. I just want to say this very clearly. I don't have to do with Puffy. So y'all can stop all them memes, he told the crowd, cracking a nervous joke about baby oil, clearly referencing the 1,000 bottles found in those infamous raids. Funny? Maybe. But the crowd could smell it. A whiff of desperation, the type you only get when you're running from the blast radius of somebody else's explosion. Smith's not the only one. Jay-Z, once practically conjoined at the hip with Diddy at every VIP table in Manhattan, is now lawyering up and denying everything, using phrases like heinous and blackmail while trying to claw his way out of the muck.
I mean, let's just be real for a second. There are a lot of lawyers who call this legal extortion. And that this is the way the legal system works, which is you threaten somebody with reputational harm. And in this case, it's interesting that Jay-Z, who's very wealthy, said it would be financial ruin.
Meanwhile, the king of shade himself, 50 Cent, hasn't wasted a single opportunity to point out who's ducking and who's playing innocent. For him, it's almost personal sport. He's trolling Jay-Z and Diddy on Instagram using throwback photos, songs like Just the Two of Us, and lines like Friends Till the End, Jay, you still there. At this point, it's hard to tell if 50's just stirring the pot or if he's dropping breadcrumbs about who's next to fall. And let's not forget, this is the same 50 Cent who's been on Diddy's trail for nearly 2 decades, first accusing him on wax, then in court, and now, thanks to the Netflix docuseries he's been hyping since the moment the cuffs clicked shut, on every screen in America. The feud's not just a sidebar anymore, it's the main event, and 50's not letting anyone forget who called this firestorm first. Now, just when you think the cast list can't get any weirder, in walks Steve Harvey. Now, Harvey isn't usually the first name you think of in a story like this. He's more Family Feud than federal fugitive, but here's the thing. Harvey's been seen at enough of the right or wrong parties, he's name-checked by enough anonymous sources, and according to one particularly chatty pilot, he's got just enough international connections to make you raise an eyebrow when he skips out of the country for a business trip the same week as a subpoena drop. No, there's no direct line from Harvey to the headline crimes, but the sudden vanishing act has people buzzing. He's gone from game show host to person of interest in the space of an Instagram refresh. And what about Oprah? That's the name nobody ever expected to hear in the same breath as Diddy, right? But there she is, showing up in whispers and DMs, mostly because she's the biggest fish in the whole celebrity pond. A couple of industry insiders say she's been working overtime to distance herself, pulling out of events and dialing up the lawyers. It's classic reputation triage. Get ahead of the story before the story gets ahead of you. Of course, 50 Cent's not letting up, dredging up their old feud for extra clicks and reminding everyone that even America's most untouchable icons aren't above a little tabloid crossfire.
This guy,
50's not to be
Oh, don't
50's not to be
Fifth. Y'all don't even fifth
play
is
around if you want to.
Fifth is different.
Let's not forget Usher, the only one on this list who actually lived under Diddy's roof. Back in the 90s, Usher was a teenager when he got dropped into Diddy's infamous Flavor Camp, a place where, according to Usher himself, things were pretty wild, even if he still won't say exactly what he saw. Now, with every new lawsuit and every new raid, Usher's old interviews are getting clipped, remixed, and replayed across every platform. It's a haunting time capsule, a reminder that the roots of this story reach back decades into a world where the rules were written by people who never thought anyone would dare to read them aloud. To this day, Usher flatly says he'd never send his own children to Puffy Camp. And somehow that single line has more chill than 1,000 court documents.
I was at a party at Diddy crib in LA. This was the beginning of 2020.
As for Diddy himself, nobody's actually seen him since the day those blue-jacketed agents hauled out box after box of evidence. TMZ got footage of him pacing an airport like a man who's realized the next plane might be his last. If insiders are right, he's not just planning a legal defense. He's busy running damage control for everyone in his orbit. There are whispers of burner phones, payoffs, insurance tapes stashed in offshore vaults. Even his most loyal allies are sweating, some deleting old texts, others calling in favors with old friends in government. It's the classic dilemma: who gets thrown under the bus and who gets the window seat on the private jet out of the country? We'd be remiss not to mention the way new names keep dropping out of nowhere. Cuba Gooding Jr., for instance. One minute he's just a +1 at a party, the next he's named in court documents as a surprise guest in the yacht studio scene described by Lil Rod Jones. If half of what's in those lawsuits is true, we're not just dealing with a case of one man's fall from grace. We're watching an entire social ecosystem melt down in real time. Every new filing, every midnight text, every no comment from a celebrity PR rep, each one is another domino wobbling toward the edge.
Well, the things that I experienced with him were monster-like. That stuff almost destroyed my life.
And it's not just about the tapes or the headlines, it's about the chilling effect spreading through Hollywood. For years, those freak-off stories were little more than whispers traded at after parties, dismissed as industry gossip, fodder for thirsty YouTubers and bored Redditors. But now, with federal agents bagging evidence and power players vanishing from the grid, even the most jaded insiders are getting jumpy. One former assistant, who says she was just there to refill the cheese tray, is suddenly fielding DMs from investigators and reporters alike. As the lawsuits pile up, it's clear nobody really knows where the end of this story lies, or how many more familiar faces might vanish before we get there.
They've been afraid of coming forward. They've been afraid of what he could potentially do to them within the industry, what he could do to them professionally, maybe even personally. And so yes, it's been a dark secret they've held on to for a very, very long time.
While the spotlight sweeps frantically from one vanished celebrity to the next, we can't ignore the man who's been standing on the edge of the crowd, megaphone in hand, for years. 50 Cent. He's long been dismissed as a troublemaker, a master troll who never missed a chance to needle his rivals. But in this moment, with Diddy's kingdom burning from the inside out, we're forced to admit he saw something the rest of us refused to see. Before any agents kicked indoors, before lawsuits stacked up like holiday mail, 50 was warning anyone who'd listen about what he called weird energy. At first, people thought it was just another chapter in their endless feud, two moguls talking tough, trading barbs for clout and brand sales. But now, those Instagram posts look less like marketing and more like prophecy. The one-liners about freak parties and unspoken boundaries weren't just shade, they were red flags we all shrugged off.
Don't trust nobody. In Hollywood, specifically, when you get there, a lot of people don't know how to say no. That's the difference between New York City and California.
We remember 50's words landing with that offhanded clarity only he can deliver. It's just my perspective because I stayed away from that stuff the entire time because this is not my style. That was months before the raids, the arrests, the exodus of associates. It's almost surreal how quickly public opinion flipped, with people combing back through 50's interviews and podcasts, like detectives hunting for clues they should have spotted sooner. Suddenly, his stories about being offered shopping trips by Diddy, feeling uncomfortable at certain industry events, or refusing to set foot in what he called puffy parties sound a lot less like personal beef and a lot more like foreshadowing. The music industry, for all its noise, knows a truth teller when it sees one, especially when the receipts start matching the rumors. This is where things take a sharper turn, because we can't just focus on who called it, we have to talk about what was really happening behind closed doors. The phrase freak off has been floating around for years, dismissed as an urban legend, a punchline, maybe a flex about the high life. But as lawsuits pile up, the actual shape of those gatherings starts to emerge, pieced together from witness accounts, leaked text, and accusations under oath. We're hearing from former producers, bodyguards, even ex-girlfriends, people who were there, people who claim these weren't wild parties but precision-engineered spectacles, complete with checklists, code words, and security who knew when to look away.
And I know you said he explained all of the items that were involved in these Wild King nights. Did he mention who would participate as well?
A lot of them were unknown to him. He did mention that a lot of the women were very, very young as 20, not underage.
One insider, still anonymous for now, describes these events as operations exclusive, invitation-only nights, where attendees check their phones at the door, signed NDAS in back hallways, and found themselves swept into a haze of substances and blurred boundaries. Participants weren't just stars. They were staff, up-and-comers, legacy names, and industry fixers. The real currency wasn't cash or status, but secrets. Everything was filmed, archived, stored. Insurance, leverage, blackmail, whatever you want to call it. The lawsuit from Rodney Lil Rod Jones details some of the mechanics: designated bottles, so-called special beverages for women, staff tasked with procuring entertainment and documenting everything that happened. If you left with a paycheck, you might also leave with a target on your back.
The centerpiece of a lot of what happened during direct testimony were freakoffs. And what the prosecution tried to show was that he forced and/or coerced her into doing these freakoffs. And we've talked about this earlier this week, that at least my opinion is that in a lot of these, the prosecution just didn't close the loop. It was something she felt.
We've watched as once untouchable celebrities scramble to explain, minimize, or flat out deny they were ever involved. Usher, pressed about his days at Flavor Camp, does his best to keep things vague, repeating that it was pretty wild, but never spelling out the specifics. Steve Harvey, whose only real crime might be being too connected for comfort, is suddenly on a series of business trips abroad just when the subpoenas are dropping like confetti. Even Oprah, the queen of distance and brand discipline, is dialing up her attorneys and pivoting hard away from her party years. We know the script. It was just business, just networking, just a misunderstanding, just a few old photos that don't tell the real story. Yet every denial, every silence only fuels the suspicion that these names didn't just attend, they enabled, they watched, they benefited.
So this is getting very interesting. And what has come on the heels of this is people unearthing videos of Justin Bieber at Diddy parties. Now, Justin Bieber was obviously extremely young when he entered the industry, extremely innocent when he entered the industry, an industry that he did not quite understand as a boy who just knew how to sing and play the guitar and just did both of those things on YouTube.
It's impossible to ignore the psychological toll inside these circles right now. Behind the scenes, we're told that group chats are blowing up, friendships are dissolving, and publicists are earning every penny trying to rewrite histories. The language has changed. No more jokes, no more teasing, wild nights. Now it's all about plausible deniability. Will Smith, the one who couldn't resist weighing in with a stage mic and a half joke about baby oil, managed to drop one of the coldest lines of the whole saga. I ain't been nowhere near that man and did none of that stupid stuff. We have to wonder, if nobody's guilty, why is everyone so desperate to prove their innocence? Meanwhile, the civil suits keep stacking up. Some are fresh, some have been quietly settled, and others are going to trial. There are accusations of orchestrating encounters, distributing substances, even forcibly recording and weaponizing private footage. Each filing adds a new layer of detail. Who poured the drinks? Who ran security? Who kept the tapes? The public narrative is shifting from one bad actor to something closer to organized chaos, a system designed to protect the powerful and keep everyone else guessing. Those who speak up, like Don Richard or Cassie Ventura, are finally being heard after years of whispers. They're naming names, detailing patterns, and refusing to be swept aside. The question is no longer if Diddy will fall, it's how many others will tumble with him.
It always feels like that, especially before federal trials, because you get to read the indictment, you have all the, not all, but you have much of what the prosecution is going to be.
But there's something additional.
Of their strategy.
There's something additional here. You're right that they hear about all of that, but what they're also hearing is these other lawsuits that have been filed by all these civil law.
We're also seeing the way all this impacts the next generation. Young stars, influencers, and even athletes who once saw Diddy's empire as a golden ticket are suddenly reconsidering. Management teams are scrubbing social media, purging old photos, even severing ties with anyone who shows up in the wrong headline. The threat isn't just legal, it's existential. Nobody wants to be the next link in the chain, and nobody's sure where the chain actually ends. It's a chilling message for anyone who thought the worst thing about a party was a hangover. Of course, 50 Cent isn't letting up. If anything, he's turning up the volume. He's trolling on Instagram, dropping screenshots of court docs, and publicly inviting his rivals to take plea deals before things get uglier. His Netflix documentary, already in production before the big arrests, now looks less like opportunism and more like a live autopsy. I've been saying this for years, he reminds anyone who'll listen. The difference now is we're all listening because the fantasy is over and the consequences are knocking.
They once worked together a long time ago. They're not friends now. They don't like each other. And yeah, 50 has taken every shot, especially when Diddy has been down.
The big question lingers. How many more names are going to surface? Industry insiders hint that the dominoes haven't even started falling yet. For every sealed document, there's another anxious call to a crisis PR firm. For every denial, another rumor surfaces. A jet seen leaving a private airfield, a face spotted at a foreign embassy, a credit card trail going cold. Nobody's confirming, but everyone's watching. And with each new raid, each new headline, the sense of dread only grows. We can't shake the feeling that Diddy's saga isn't just a story about one man's empire crumbling. It's a test of the entire celebrity system. The old rules, power protects, money silences, fame erases, don't seem to hold anymore. As the evidence stacks up and the legal pressure mounts, the only certainty is that the walls are closing in on more than just Diddy. The public wants answers, justice, maybe even revenge. The insiders just want out. And 50 Cent, he wants you to know he was right all along. So what happens now? Do we witness the total implosion of Hollywood's untouchable class, or will a few carefully chosen scapegoats satisfy the world's appetite for scandal? Will the next raid shatter another legend's reputation, or are there still bigger secrets buried beneath the surface? Drop your wildest theories and hot takes in the comments, because one thing's for sure, the story is just heating up. Stick with us, keep your eyes open, and remember, in this game, nobody's innocent. Until next time, keep watching the shadows, and good luck sleeping tonight.